I didn't know it was going to be the sentence that stayed with me. The soup was still hot. I could smell chicken broth and pepper, sharp enough to make my eyes sting a little. I remember that because it felt wrong that something so ordinary was happening at the same time. She didn't raise her voice. "Either you go to a nursing home," my daughter-in-law said, "or you sleep in the doghouse. You choose." She said it like she was talking about groceries, like she'd already gone over it in her head and was done thinking about it. I looked at my son. He was scrolling on his phone, thumb moving fast, eyes locked on the screen. He didn't look up. Not once. That hurt more than her words. I swear it did. My eyes drifted toward the back door. There was a blanket folded on the floor. Thin, old, one we hadn't used in years. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a fight. This was a plan. I thought about saying something clever. I'd raised a child. I'd lived a long time. I should have had something ready. Nothing came out. I thought about crying. That didn't come either. Instead, I smiled. I hated myself for it. Honestly. The smile just showed up on my face like muscle memory. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my old phone, the one I kept, turned off most days, the one I told myself I'd never need again. "I'm not choosing tonight," I said. She laughed, not loud, just enough. I unlocked the phone and started dialing. "My name is Maribel Hayes. I am 71 years old," and as the line rang in my ear, I realized something I hadn't let myself admit before. They thought this was already over. "Who are you calling?" my daughter-in-law asked. Her voice was sharp now. Not curious, suspicious. I didn't answer. My son finally looked up from his phone. "Mom," he said, rubbing his face. "Please don't make this harder, harder." That word lodged itself somewhere deep. Harder for who? Exactly. For them. Having to say the quiet part out loud. Or for me, being told my place like it was a schedule change. I stayed quiet, not frozen, not scared. Just done. I realized then how long I'd been practicing being easy. Being the one who didn't argue, the one who said it was fine, the one who paid things quietly and pretended it didn't matter. Last winter, I'd covered one of their bills. Heating. It was a bad month. I remember the smell of dust burning off the vents when it finally kicked on. I sent the money without a word. They said they'd pay me back. They didn't. I never brought it up. My daughter-in-law leaned against the counter, arms crossed, waiting for me to explain myself. "I told you." She said, "We just need space." Space. In the house I helped keep standing. "Someone's coming." I said, that was all. My son frowned. Coming for what I didn't answer that either. The fridge hummed behind me, loud. Too loud. The kind of noise you notice when nobody's talking because nobody wants to say the wrong thing. My daughter-in-law rolled her eyes. She let out a short laugh, like she'd already decided how this ended. "You're bluffing," she said. "You always do this? You wait, then you give in." She was so sure of it. I didn't correct her. I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain the phone in my hand or the number I hadn't deleted in years. I just stood there, listening to the ring on the other end, feeling something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Not fear, timing, and for the first time in a long while. I didn't rush to fill the silence. Nobody talked after that. My daughter-in-law checked the clock on the wall, then her phone, then the clock again. Like it might speed things up if she stared hard enough. My son sat back down. He didn't scroll this time. Just held the phone in both hands. Thumbs hovering. Not touching anything. He kept glancing at the front door like it might explain itself. The dog scratched at the back door. Soft. Over and over. That sound got under my skin. It was patient. Used to waiting. This is ridiculous. My daughter-in-law said, "You're doing this on purpose." Doing what my son asked. Too quickly, she waved a hand toward me. This The silence. The drama. I almost laughed. Almost. I thought about the first time I held my son. He was tiny. Red. Angry at the world. He stopped crying the second I picked him up. I used to think that meant something about me. That I mattered. Now he wouldn't even look at me. The blanket by the door kept pulling my eyes back. Folded neatly. Like they'd prepared for weather or for me. I wondered how long it had been there. Minutes, hours, days. You can't just call someone and expect. My daughter-in-law started. Expect what I said. She stopped. Thought better of it. My son cleared his throat. Mom, if this is about money, it's not. I said. He nodded. Relieved too fast. That told me everything. I wondered. Honestly. If I'd waited too long, if standing up for myself at 71 just looked sad instead of strong, if I'd already trained them to believe I'd fold, I'd done it before, over and over. The clock ticked. Loud now, my daughter-in-law stood up. This is stupid. Nobody's coming. That's when the knock came, not rushed, not hesitant. 3 firm knocks. My son froze. My daughter-in-law didn't move at all, and in that second, before anyone opened the door, I felt it clearly, the shift, the moment when waiting turned into consequence. The knock was firm, not rushed, not apologetic. My daughter-in-law froze. I mean, actually froze. One hand half raised, mouth slightly open, like her body hadn't caught up to her thoughts yet. My son stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. I'll get it, he said, already moving. The door opened, and Caleb stepped in like he belonged there. Clean jacket, calm eyes, the kind of voice that doesn't need to compete. Evening, he said. My daughter-in-law's face shifted. Not surprise. Recognition. I saw it land behind her eyes before she could stop it. She laughed. Too quick. Too bright. Oh, you must be a friend. Caleb Rourke, he said, holding out his hand. I'm not just a friend. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't smile either. Polite. Precise. Somehow worse. She hesitated, then shook his hand. Her grip was weak. I noticed that. My son cleared his throat. Can we help you? Caleb looked at him, then back at me. I'm here for Maribel. Not Mrs. Hayes, not your mother. My name, like it still meant something. He turned to me. You ready? Something in my chest loosened, just a little. My daughter-in-law crossed her arms. This is unnecessary. She didn't have to make a scene. Caleb nodded once. From what I heard, the scene was already set. Silence dropped hard after that. I stood up. My knees protested. Sharp and familiar. I ignored it. You can't just take her, my son said. His voice cracked. This is our house. Caleb didn't argue. Tonight, he said calmly. She decides where she goes. I picked up my coat. My daughter-in-law looked at me then. Really looked. Like she was seeing a version of me she hadn't planned for. And in that moment, I watched certainty drain out of her face. You ever see someone realize they misjudged you and know they can't undo it? I grabbed my coat. That was it. My daughter-in-law stepped forward like she'd just remembered something important. Maribel, wait, we're family. She said it softer this time, like that word still worked. My son finally said my name, Mom. One word, late, thin. I'm not taking anything from this house, I said. My voice surprised me. Steady, no shake, nothing that can be thrown back in my face later. She scoffed. You're being dramatic. Caleb didn't move. He just watched them, let them talk themselves smaller. This is ridiculous. My daughter-in-law said, you can't just leave over one argument. I looked at her. It wasn't one argument. It was the sentence you practiced before I sat down. My son swallowed. We didn't mean it like that. I nodded. You always say that. The floor creaked under my feet as I walked toward the door. Same creak it's made for years. Same spot. I remembered standing there once, holding my son's backpack, reminding him not to forget his lunch. Nobody reached for me. Nobody said, "Please stay." Caleb opened the door without being asked. Outside, the air smelled like rain and wet pavement. Clean, honest. I breathed in deeper than I had all evening. Behind me, my daughter-in-law said, "If you walk out, don't expect." "I don't expect anything," I said, and that was the truest thing I'd said all night. My son didn't follow. I heard the door close behind us. Final, heavy. I didn't look back. Not because I was strong, because I knew if I did, I might stop. Is it worse when people beg you to stay or when they don't try at all? Caleb's place smelled like burnt coffee. Not fresh, not comforting. Burnt, like he'd forgotten the pot and let it sit. It fit how I felt. We sat at the small table by the window. He didn't rush me. That's what did it. The quiet that didn't push back. "I don't talk about this," I said. "Not really." He nodded. Didn't say it was okay. Didn't say anything at all. "I raised my son alone," I said. "I skipped meals so he wouldn't. Sold things I loved. Tools. Jewelry. Stuff I told myself I didn't need." I laughed once. Short, ugly. Turns out I did. Caleb wrapped his hands around his mug. "You did what you thought you had to." "I helped them buy that house," I said. "Called it temporary. Said I'd just stay a while. Help out. Be useful." My voice caught there. I hated that. I lost my room first. I said, "They needed it for storage." Then I lost my say. Then my place at the table. I kept adjusting, kept telling myself it was fine. I shook my head. It wasn't fine. I just didn't want to be a problem. Caleb looked at me then. "You weren't—" "I let it happen," I said. "That part's on me. I trained them. Every time I stayed quiet. Every time I paid something and didn't ask. Every time I smiled when I wanted to scream. I stared at the table. There was a ring mark from the mug. Old. Permanent. It feels stupid now," I said, standing up at 71 like it's a new idea. Caleb didn't argue, didn't correct me. He just said, "It's not stupid to wake up." That landed heavier than comfort ever does. I leaned back and closed my eyes. For a second, I felt the weight of everything I'd handed over, piece by piece, calling it love, and I knew this part mattered. Not the papers, not the money. This, owning the truth of how I disappeared. Have you ever helped someone so much you erased yourself? Caleb came back to the table with a folder. Thick, worn, the edges were yellowed. Soft, like they'd been handled a lot and then forgotten. "I kept these," he said. "Didn't think you'd ever ask." "I didn't know to," I said. He opened it and slid one page toward me. My name sat there. Plain as day. Not crossed out, not replaced. Mine. That can't be right. I said, "I walked away." "You thought you did," he said. "You signed a side agreement. Not the final one." I stared at the paper. My hands shook a little. I hated that. I never checked. I said, "I just assumed it was gone." Caleb nodded. "Most people do." He pointed to a line. "This ties back to property." Tacoma changed. A lot. What was nothing then isn't nothing now. How much, I asked. He didn't answer right away. "Enough to matter," he said. "Enough that they wouldn't be talking to you the same way if they knew." That made my stomach turn. Relief and nausea at the same time. Like realizing the door you slammed shut years ago was never locked. "I don't want to rush," he said. "We test first." "Test what?" I asked. "Intentions," he said. "We see who shows their hand." I laughed once. Dry. "They already did." "Not fully," he said. "Not when money's quiet." When it whispers, I leaned back. The chair creaked. My head felt heavy. Not dizzy, just full. This scares me. I said, "That's normal." He said, "Power you didn't ask for usually does." I thought about my son, about my daughter-in-law, about how quickly respect showed up when they thought something was at stake. "Okay," I said, "we test." Not because I felt brave, not because I wanted revenge, because I was tired of guessing who I was allowed to be. If you found out you still had leverage, would you use it or walk away? I went back once. Just once. I didn't announce it. I didn't ask if it was a good time. I knocked. Waited. Stepped inside like I still had a right to breathe that air. My daughter-in-law's smile snapped on fast. Too fast. "Oh, hey," she said. "You should have called." I nodded. "Won't take long." My son hovered near the hallway, hands in his pockets, nervous, watching me like I might break something just by standing there. I took the envelope out of my coat and set it on the counter, plain, thick. One word written on the front in my handwriting. Estate. I didn't explain it. Didn't gesture. Didn't soften my voice. My daughter-in-law leaned forward. "What's that paper?" I said. That was all. The shift was immediate. Her shoulders dropped. Her tone smoothed out. "Mom," she said, like she'd always used it. "You want some tea, Mom?" My son stepped closer. "We've been worried about you," he said. "You just left." I looked at him. "You knew where I was going." He didn't argue. My daughter-in-law slid the envelope a fraction of an inch closer to herself. She caught it and pulled her hand back like she'd touched a hot stove. "I should go," I said. "So soon?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Soon." They walked me to the door this time. Both of them, smiling, careful, like I was suddenly fragile instead of disposable. Outside, the air felt colder, cleaner. That night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls, messages, concern wrapped in exclamation points. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Didn't read past the first line. I turned the phone face down and went to bed. Not because I was cruel, because I wanted to see what they'd do when hope sat on the counter between them. Funny how respect shows up right when money might. We met in a small office downtown, beige walls, a long table, papers laid out like they already knew how this would end. The notary introduced himself and sat quietly, hands folded. He didn't look surprised by anything. That should have been my first clue this wasn't going to go the way they hoped. My daughter-in-law kept shifting in her chair, one leg bouncing. Her hands wouldn't stay still. She smiled at me once, like she was checking if I still recognized her. My son looked pale. Not angry, not defensive, just unwell. Like his body knew something his mouth hadn't caught up to yet. Caleb spoke first. Calm, measured. He didn't look at them when he talked. He looked at the papers. "Maribel still holds interest," he said. "Legally, cleanly. Nothing hidden." My daughter-in-law leaned forward. "So, this is about transferring it." Caleb glanced up then, just once. "No." Silence stretched. "She doesn't owe anyone anything," he continued. "Not property, not money, not explanations." My son swallowed. "Mom," he said, finally looking at me. "We just wanted to understand what was happening." "You understood enough," I said. My daughter-in-law's voice cracked. "You left an envelope. You let us think I let you show yourselves," I said. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "We were just trying to plan for what I asked." She didn't answer. Caleb slid one page forward. The envelope wasn't a promise. It was a test. My son rubbed his temples. Jesus. They failed it out loud after that. Every sentence worse than the last. Talking about percentages, about what made sense, about what I'd want for them. Not once did they ask what I wanted for me. I felt my hands shaking under the table. I hated that, but my voice stayed steady. I'm not cutting you off. I said, I'm stepping back. My daughter-in-law looked up sharply. From what? From being used, I said. From being managed. From being spoken over. My son whispered my name. I love you, I told him. That doesn't mean I keep paying for it. I stood up. The chair scraped. Final. This ends here, I said. Not as punishment. As a boundary. One I couldn't undraw even if I wanted to. Do you think people deserve forgiveness before they admit what they did? The place I moved into smells like fresh paint and nothing else. No old cooking. No perfume that isn't mine. Just clean walls and quiet. Too quiet, honestly. I set my bag down and stand there for a minute like I'm waiting for someone to tell me where I'm allowed to put things. Nobody does. That's new. My phone buzzes while I'm unpacking. One message from my son. Just his name and a line that says, "Can we talk?" No explanations, no excuses yet. Just that I don't answer right away. I sit on the bed. The springs creak when I shift my weight. Cheap bed. Temporary. I kind of like that it doesn't pretend to be permanent. I keep thinking about the meeting, about how steady my voice sounded and how my hands shook anyway. I didn't feel strong. I felt tired. There's a difference people don't talk about enough. I didn't win anything. I didn't take something from them. I just stopped disappearing so they could feel comfortable. That's the part I want people to understand. Sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't look brave. It looks late. It looks messy. It looks like admitting you waited too long and doing it anyway. My son texts again. I'm alone. That word hits harder than I expect. I type something. Delete it. Type again. Delete that too. Here's what I know, and I'll say it plainly. Loving someone doesn't mean you keep letting them hurt you. And putting distance between yourself and the people you love doesn't mean you stopped loving them. Sometimes it means you finally started loving yourself enough to breathe. If you're watching this and you're in something that feels familiar, I won't tell you what to do. I messed it up plenty before I got it half right. But I will say this. Pay attention to how small you're making yourself. That part adds up. I don't know what I'll do with my son yet. I don't know if the door stays open or closes a little or a lot. I'm not ready to decide. And that's okay. For now, I'm sitting with it. Sitting with the quiet. Sitting with the truth. And if this story hits something in you, say it out loud in the comments. Share it. Talk to someone. You're not weak for needing time. If someone hurt you like this, would you let them back in? Or keep the door closed?